From KPRC 2, this is Houston Newsmakers with Cambrell Marshall.
And good morning and welcome to Houston Newsmakers. Hello again to Harris County Judge Lina Hidalgo. Good to see you. It's been a while.
It's great to see you.
But I'm glad to have you here as well. You know, what a difference 4 years makes. This time 4 years ago, you were an unknown relatively unknown, running against an incumbent, and you won. What was it that made you want to run 4 years ago, and what is it that makes you want to run again?
Well, back then, I'm one of the women that decided to run after Donald Trump was elected. I never thought I'd be involved in politics. I'd started my career working on promoting democracy internationally. I was just focused on something else entirely. And then I thought, when he started attacking diversity, freedom of the press, I thought, hey, if he can win, so can I, and decided to throw my hat in the ring. It was before Harvey that I launched my campaign, but after the Memorial Day flood, after the tax day flood, and my sense was, how is it that they're not really tackling the flooding issue in our community? These days, you know, we've been through so much. It has been a difficult and very, very momentous 4 years, I think, for everyone, right? Floods, fires, pandemic, winter freeze. I'm so proud of this community for having gone through all of that. And as I've led the community through these challenges, we've also been able to get a lot done, and I'm proud of that.
What would you say your biggest accomplishment is?
Well, I'm very proud of the work we've done on early childhood education. So, you know, the largest investment ever to early childhood education, over $60 million, which I'm very, very proud of. And the reason I want to run again is to continue reflecting the values and the needs of the community in county government. Because it used to be about roads and bridges and that's it, and flooding. And they didn't do that particularly well either. And now we've been able to do all of that and so much more. No longer is flood control policy set by the developers. No longer are we outsourcing pollution control to industry. No longer are we determining our criminal justice policy based on what the NRA wants to do. It's based on what the victims and the community needs. And we're not just a rubber stamp for Greg Abbott and Dan Patrick. And I think that's why they're coming after me so much from the state, and really from the very beginning, is because for 30 years, Harris County, the largest county in Texas, was just silent. But that didn't reflect what the community wanted to see.
Are you surprised at the tenacity at which the GOP seems to be coalescing around an effort to go after you?
Look, everybody knows politics is a tough business, and when I decided to run for office, I knew what I was getting myself into. It is very nasty. There doesn't seem to be a commitment to truth in the way they come after me, which is unfortunate. I frankly did not think we would see the level of extremism here in Harris County that we are seeing. One of my GOP colleagues last year refused to certify the results of the election, as the commissioner's court were charged with doing that. They give additional airtime to known conspiracy theorists who've harassed my team and their families. So that's kind of out of tune. But look, the fact that the governor's been coming after me, the lieutenant governor, we just heard from the Attorney General Ken Paxton, they're trying to perhaps interfere in our elections this year. It makes sense because Harris County is the largest county in Texas. I'm getting things done. I'm a Hispanic woman in a state that they know it's a key population. I'm a person that represents everyone in the community, whether they voted for me or not. We've been effective. And so they don't want me to continue the work and to show what effective Democratic leadership can look like in the state.
Before I ask you about what might be some of the toughest challenges, I'm going to take a leap and suggest that perhaps the winter freeze of 2021 might have been one of them. As our region went into this deep freeze, we had people die, record-breaking temperatures under normal circumstances. I'd say, well, that would be enough to really be one of the toughest challenges, but and putting it at the top of the list. But then around the time we were going through all of that, even before that, we had the pandemic. And the pandemic was something, obviously, we're dealing with that, a real challenge. So those two things, but I don't know, those are things that I would think of would be toughest challenges. Is that for you the toughest, or is there something else off the board that you think is even tougher that you've dealt with in these last 4 years?
You're right. I mean, the toughest thing for me is to see the community suffer through these challenges. So, you know, when there are folks that had such a tough time with the freeze, now are having a tough time with the increase in the energy bills, folks that have a water line from Allison, the floods in 2001, and were then showing me the water line from Harvey. And now finally we're doing a flood control project in their neighborhood. But I've also always prioritize the community situations. You talk about the winter freeze. The meteorologists were all saying the same thing. You know this, right? Y'all knew that it was going to be these sub-zero temperatures, very sub-freezing temperatures. Now, the politicians were afraid to say it. And I'll tell you, my own advisor said, if you say that, of course, the meteorological predictions can shift. You don't want to be accused of crying wolf. And my assessment was, that's okay. If I lose re-election because I accidentally cried wolf, I'm okay with that. So I told the community, prepare as though it were a Category 5 hurricane. And to this day, I run into people who tell me that's why they stocked up on food. I spoke to a woman very recently. She said that's what led her to fill her tub. And the tub was a respite during all those days where there was no water. And so, you know, it's tough to see that we're working every day and we've worked to update our emergency plans and our response plans and get more high water vehicles and really tackle the issue of flooding, not being scared of the developers.
Is there anything now, if you look over what's happening in the last 4 years, in hindsight, is there anything you would have done differently? Because you had a lot of things going on, but is there any one or two things that you say, I'd do that differently, for whatever reason?
The one thing that always, you know, is at the forefront is the closure of the rodeo. I knew that COVID was coming. I'd been in touch with my counterparts in Seattle where they already had it. We were putting in place the plans. I think I was too late in stopping the rodeo. And I think we shouldn't have waited until that first case came to our region. And I think that would have saved even more lives. And what that experience taught me was to really lean forward and be proactive when it comes to these emergencies. And so that's then what I did for the rest of COVID and in all of the other situations. And, you know, when our hands were tied by the state and they said, well, you can't require masks. Well, we sent emergency alerts to people's phones. We worked with the school districts. You know, we worked with our mayors. So it's always about going over and around the wall and being erring on the side of transparency with the community.
So I want to continue to talk to you. I want to ask you about this campaign and what you think about your opponent for county judge and what you can do to counteract the message that she's delivering at this point in time that, quite frankly, is, well, as you said, they're kind of nasty sometimes.